Yeah, going to be the January 1st team from the non-Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, Memphis has been really dynamic, and they're one of the top teams in the country in explosive plays. And it's just a question of, with Memphis, how well they can hold up on defense. And again, like you guys mentioned about Cincinnati, red zone efficiency. Are they going to be efficient in the red zone against the better teams? But, yeah, we had their season wins, at least I did, thinking around 10.5 with Memphis. So they're really a team that, should be it's certainly in the top 25, but could make some noise for a New Year's Day bowl game.
Yeah, and that conference is loaded with offense. I mean, there are just some tremendous offensive teams. The defense on Central Florida also still very much in the mix. None of them play real good defense, but you want high-powered offenses. You won't have to look further than that division, or that conference, I should say. What about the NFL? What are we seeing so far for Week 1 there? Who's kind of looking like a wise guy play at this point?
So far, it's been the Vikings start the year. They're playing Atlanta, and it's kind of a pros versus Joes feel to it, even though it's early. But the Vikings are certainly a liability right now. But that could change. The Ravens, I feel that's going to be a liability come Week 1. I don't see that changing. Miami, obviously, people are down on them, and rightfully so. And the Ravens, I feel bettors think that Lamar Jackson now full training camp, full season. Half a season under his belt, so he'll be more efficient this year. And I think bettors it's more of a combination. You feel he's better, and the Dolphins being the Dolphins at this point. And then the Colts, we're seeing a lot of dog money on the Colts against the Chargers, and a little surprise there. I think both teams will have a chance to be contenders.
Indianapolis is interesting because I think they've upgraded their speed at wide receiver, and when you've got a guy with an arm like Andrew Luck, that could be a deadly combination. I think the Colts might be a pretty good football team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise. They certainly finished up great, and Frank Reich showed, how great a coach he is, what a great hire that was. But, league adjusts to coaches like they do players, so we'll see how it goes this year. And after that playoff game, they have a lot to prove right after that playoff loss to Kansas City. They were terrible.
I'm actually surprised at that line that the Colts are getting the respect that I believe they deserve, with the line being 3. Yeah. Part of that, of course, is the Chargers' lack of home edge. Again, put that in there where you're probably 2 points less than you would if the Colts were playing a similar team on the road.
I think there's also a sense, and you guys can chime in on this, that the Chargers' window, while it hasn't closed, it's on the way down. Phillips Rivers isn't getting any younger, and he just doesn't win any big games. And I don't know. At some point, I think that I think the Chargers are going to go backwards this year. I really do. What do you guys think?
It's tough to tell with that team. It seems like whenever you think they're going to go backwards, they're right in the mix. And when you have high expectations for the Chargers, they're 8-8. So it all depends on what people leading up to Week 1. If I hear they're going to be great this year, then they'll probably be 8-8. And hear the opposite, then it just seems to play it out that way. I know that's kind of silly, but that's been their MO for what? 10, 15 years now.
Yeah, it's true.
I do like the Chargers this year, but I agree that their window is probably this year where they really need to make that push.
UFC Saturday night, we've got a good main event. This is going to be a good betting fight. Actually, 2 fights to talk about. Cyborg and Spencer is the co-main event. So let's start with that one. And Cyborg, of course, is a good-sized favorite, but she's not getting any younger. Are we getting any dog money there? Is it lottery ticket stuff on the dog, or is there any sharp money showing?
Mostly lottery ticket money thus far. It's not that much handle, and we're about 80% of the cash is on Spencer right now. So that number was lagged high enough to track dog money, but you never know come fight night. Now
the main event, this one will get a lot of volume because they're two guys who are very well known to the fans. Frank Edgar's very popular. You got to think this is going to be. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a Pacquiao Thurman type of volume, but this is going to be a solid UFC main event that's going to draw lots of volume.
Yeah, so far this has been it's been promising thus far, the handle, and it's been mostly on Holloway. About 75% of the cash on Holloway, mostly public money. No sharp money has appeared on this fight. So right now we could need Edgar come fight night. This looks like it might be headed upwards.
Will, how did CG fare on the Pacquiao fight? Was that a positive result going the distance?
Oh, yeah, it was a great result for us. Tony did a great job booking that fight, tremendous. And really, we're a step ahead every time. when it first came out and that number pushed right through where Pacquiao became favorite. I think we spoke 2 weeks ago, and we were saying that this Pacquiao become a favorite, and he did, and we stayed ahead of it where we didn't move the line on air, so to speak. We took bets, kept moving the number based on our bets, not afraid to do that, and worried we'll be caught with the wrong number. So we ended up peaking, I think, at 170, and then dog money came in on the day of the fight. It just kind of out of the blue. It just kept coming in, and then right up about an hour before the fight started, Pacquiao money resurfaced again, and we were in the right number, right position, and it came back up, and I forgot what it closed at, 150, 160, but the result was perfect, where we got enough dog money. We were pretty much, win-win to either fighter, and it going the distance was great.
Yeah, had Pacquiao scored a knockout, now you're talking about a completely different result for the house. That would have been bad.
Yes, it would have been bad, and we're definitely glad it went the distance. Because of all our prop bets that we had big liabilities on. So sometimes if you do things the right way, you create your own luck sometimes.
What's interesting now is who Pacquiao fights next. I know they're talking about Errol Spence or Bud Crawford. I think those two guys might end up fighting each other, and the winner might take on the winner of Pacquiao-Mayweather, because I think Pacquiao-Mayweather, too, even though it was a crappy fight the first time around and could be worse this time around, there's so much money, and fans forget. And so I'm never going to buy this again. They will. I think that fight's going to happen.
Is that going to be a stadium fight in New Raider Stadium?
Perfect spot for it.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that, but that makes sense. That could be
opening event.
Yeah, that could be a grand opening event, something along those lines, and it would do huge business.
Tremendous. I think the handle would be probably 3 times what you saw, maybe 4 times what you saw in the fight this past weekend.
Yeah, that's why it's going to happen again. Whether it's a good fight or not, at this stage doesn't matter. And I don't think it is. I didn't think the first one would be a good fight, and I got that right. But the masses will buy this, and there's so much money available to both Manny and Floyd. Why not? May as well do it again. So I think they will at some point, and we'll see what happens. Let's talk about tonight's big game in baseball, Yankees and Red Sox. Always a high-volume game. It's one of the great rivalries in sports, even though the Yankees have had the Red Sox number this year and the divisional race is over. But this is still going to have the big game feel to it, and it'll do a lot of business.
Yeah, especially after that London series with all the runs being scored. That's what we're seeing as far as where our liability is. Right now it's on the over. We're seeing a lot of over money. It wouldn't surprise me if this got to possibly 12 with some juice on the under, but I don't think it will, but it wouldn't shock me. It's been two-way action as far as, the side here. Obviously bettors feel the Yankees could be tired after their, grueling series with the Twins. Their bullpen, somewhat depleted, and the Red Sox are in desperation mode. This series is way bigger for them than it is for the Yankees, and bettors seem to be catching on to that thus far, where we've taken a lot of bigger bets on the Dogs so far. A little sharp money coming in on Boston.
We'll talk more about that game later on in the WagerTalk Marquee matchup. Tell us about some cool stuff happening at CG Sportsbooks throughout the Valley, Will.
Yeah, we have a tremendous, not only weekend, but this month coming up. We have so much product as far as NFL and college football. Our season wins are still up. So if you haven't bet those yet, by all means, season wins for college, season wins, for not just the top 25 teams in college football, but your top 40, 50 teams, big names, even UNLV and UNR. You can win a bet to win the divisions in the NFL. Kind of a hidden value play for people who may want to bet a team to win the Super Bowl, but you know what? You're not getting the best odds. Bet them to win a division. You cash out right when you win the division, and you don't have to worry about going one and done in the playoffs. So great opportunity there. Obviously, our futures are up to win the conference and to win the Super Bowl. And we also have matchups, cross-sport matchups. So a little complicated to explain, but once you see it, it's real easy. Like the Bears in Michigan, you can bet who will have more wins this season. A big-name college team, Michigan, Chicago Bears in the NFL, and we put a spread for that one. I think it's -0.5, but we have a bunch of those up as well. Just a ton of stuff with both NFL and college football. Baseball futures are still up. Before the trade deadline, make sure you you bet who's going to win the World Series before the trade deadline, and then after the trade deadline, teams' odds drop, like a rock. But it's just going to be a great time. It's my favorite time of the year, and you definitely got to download the CG app, sign up for an account, so you can avoid having to run around to every sports book. You can bet from home or wherever you're at.
Good stuff, Will. We always appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
You too. My pleasure.
Will Bernanke. And you can follow him on Twitter at The Moneyline Guy. Good information, as always. When we come back, we'll get our Joe's Angle of the Day. We'll take a look at some Week 1 college football matchups, maybe some where you could be looking at Moneyline upsets. We'll talk about some of those. Marquee matchups still to come as well.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
Cliff Miller with me, Dave Cokin. We're talking about what's happening at MJ Christensen at Boca Park. And let's talk about diamonds, because they're a girl's best friend, and they're also the most intimidating thing in the world for guys.
They see a GSI 1 carat, and one's $4,000 and one's $14,000, and they don't understand why. That's why people are flooding into MJ, because we'll sit you down and educate you and help you select the perfect diamond for your occasion.
MJ Christensen, something special for the love of your life. Located at Boca Park.
Hey, it's Dave Cokin with John Lyons from Lyons Physical Therapy. So, car wrecks, very frequent in Las Vegas. Sometimes serious injuries, some not so serious, but in a lot of cases, there has to be some kind of physical therapy after the accident. Talk about that.
Yes, Dave. We as physical therapists can assess all injuries after a car accident. Sometimes we're the first person to see a patient, where we can identify the type of injuries the patient has. We will get them moving better, help reduce their pain, and we also work in conjunction with multiple physicians so these patients can be given appropriate medications to help with their pain, muscle spasms, and swelling. We can also provide any postoperative treatment in case these patients ever need surgery on their spine, their shoulders, and their knees. LionsPTLV.com, 702-476-0222.
Hello, friends. This is Thomas Johnson from Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. Need a great idea for lunch or dinner? Your best bet is Joe's, one of the most popular dining destinations on the Strip. Joe's provides the ideal setting for private parties with accommodations for up to 150 guests. Stop by to see us at the Forum Shops at Caesars and ask for Thomas Johnson, your maitre d'.
And the number at Joe's to make a reservation is 702-792-9222, one of the great restaurants in Las Vegas. Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab, located at the Forum Shops at Caesars Palace. Ralph, what do we have?
Going to be plain and simple. The Oakland A's, when they're a home favorite of 160 or more, 34-5. They take care of business at home, beating a team they're supposed to beat.
That's rather dominant. John Rahm is tearing things up right now at the WGC FedEx opening round down in Memphis. He is just wrapped up an 8-under round, and he will be the leader after the first round. And he's
3 clear.
Yeah, he's 3 clear, and we'll see if it holds up. I like Justin Thomas this week, and he's having an okay round, and that's about as good as you can say about it. He's just bogeyed a hole, so he'll be 2 under. Rory McIlroy is stinking it up. He's had a great record coming off a tournament in which he's missed a cut. His last 4 tournaments after missing a cut, 2 wins, a second, and a 12th. But he is over par for the day today, not having a good time.
But no previous cut he missed was as emotional as that this past weekend.
No, that's true. Considering the way he played on Friday in the second round, I thought, boy, he might be really strong this week. But he has struggled somewhat, to put it mildly, and looks like he's not going to be in red figures after day 1, and that is bad news for him. We'll keep you posted on what's going on there. Let's see. Justin Thomas is now at 2 under par, so he hurt himself with that bogey just now. Let's look at some college football as we look ahead to week 1 and potential moneyline underdog winners. Now, these aren't necessarily plays that we like, but they're games that are going to attract some action on the moneyline dogs for various reasons. And we can start with a game which will be of interest to folks in this part of the country, Utah State, with a great quarterback in Jordan Love. Not sure they have a lot around him, but certainly Jordan Love's presence just by itself is going to make them somewhat attractive to bettors as they go into Wake Forest to face the Demon Deacons. Wake Forest, an okay team, made it to a bowl last year, but not any great shakes. And this would be I would say, an important game, maybe a little more important to Utah State than it is to Wake Forest, getting out of the gate quickly and and beating a Power 5 conference team in the first week of the season.
I might disagree with that because